So, once again, James Gunn answers another dumbass question. Nah, I'm just kidding, bro. So, a fan asked James Gunn, "Hey, James, how much of this movie is dedicated to Superman's origin story?" And James Gunn says, "None," which is exactly what I want to hear.
Something finger licking good special. That's what I'm talking about. Oh,
Superman is an iconic character. We had an origin story. We've seen his origin story. We don't need to view that origin story anymore. Much like Tom Holland's Spider-Man when he was introduced to Civil War in his own solo films, we didn't get an origin story. Much like Matt Reeves' The Batman, we didn't get an origin story because we get it. His parents got shot, pearls drop, he's emo, he's sad. We got it. Let's continue on with the story. And we don't need to see an origin story of a planet blowing up, being raised by Ma Pa Kent, being ostracized as an alien. We got that in Man of Steel. We got that in BVS. We got that in Zack Snyder's Justice League. Henry Cavill's emo and sad. He doesn't know where he is. We got it. Let's continue with the story. This universe is already set. He's established as a reporter at the Daily Planet. He's Clark Kent. He's established as Superman. This whole world in the DC universe is established. We got it. We're good. Let's get into the story. And that's exactly where the problem was with some of these Snyder cultists online complaining about, well, why aren't people complaining about all of these heroes being thrust in the DCU with James Gunn? And everybody bitched about Henry Cavill and BVS and all these heroes being put in BVS. Well, the difference is we were led to believe that Henry Cavill was actually the main star of his solo movie, right? But it turns out it wasn't, because he was overshadowed by Ben Affleck's Batman, which is, kudos to Ben Affleck because he was an awesome Batman. But we were led to believe that Henry Cavill was going to get his own sequel, further developing his story without Batman being thrust in because of how Man of Steel underperformed at the box office and Warner Brothers getting scared and worried and telling Zack Snyder, "Hey, Zack Snyder, you better put in Batman because we're trusting you with our $400 million and these iconic characters, and we trust you to know what's best." And it turns out, well, Zack Snyder, again, love Zack Snyder, he tried his best, but ultimately his creative choices weren't the best ideas for the general audience to really consume, and the fan base was split, and that's not really how you want to run a DC studio. So they went to James Gunn and David Zaslav, who, again, credit to David Zaslav, wanted someone who knows these characters, who loves these characters, who understands filmmaking, who understands how to make popular superhero films, and understands these characters in and out, and he gave the keys to the kingdom to James Gunn. And gotta be honest, I don't know who else I would give the keys to the kingdom to other than James Gunn, because he's a good filmmaker, he's a good writer, but also he's a passionate fan and he loves these characters. So, I mean, if you have another name, gladly drop it. But again, Zack Snyder, he respects the source material, but I don't think he really understands the essence of who these characters are. Again, I think Zack Snyder understands the visual language of these characters. I think he understands what these characters mean to people. But when it comes down to the essence of who these characters are, Zack Snyder said it himself, he's not a big comic book guy. Like, he's read The Dark Knight Returns, and he's a big fan of Frank Miller. He's a big fan of Alan Moore's Watchmen. But everything else, he's just like, okay, that's cool, but, that's not really what I'm interested in. And again, kudos to him. But, James Gunn, he's interested in everything, and he knows everything about each and every character, whether it's Marvel or DC, and that's the guy you want running your studio. So again, you can blame James Gunn all you want, but at the end of the day, his universe is already established. So throwing in as much characters as he wants, which is not even that many characters, it makes sense within that world. James Gunn is not doing an origin story. He's Superman already. He's Clark Kent already. So if he was doing an origin story with a total reboot and retelling Kal-El as a baby in Krypton, and then you're throwing in Hawkman, Green Lantern, Adam, your mom, okay, then yeah, you can make an argument like, yeah, this is way too many characters. But again, this world is already set up. and we, the audience, are jumping right into it. So it makes sense. Whereas it didn't make sense to throw in Aquaman and Martian Manhunter and Batman and Wonder Woman and Henry Cavill's quote unquote supposed sequel. Because like, what the fuck is all this? Why are you shoehorning in all these characters? You're overshadowing Henry Cavill's Superman. I thought this was his story, bro. But it turns out it wasn't. And again, I don't blame Henry Cavill. I don't blame Henry Cavill at all for being pissed off. I would be pissed off too. So that's going to be it. Hit like, subscribe, follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Discord, TikTok. This is at Shakes in the comments below. What do you think of all this news? Are you glad that James Gunn is not doing an origin story? I'm glad it's not an origin story because, again, we know Superman. We got it. Just tell the story, bro. Let's set up this DC universe already. We've been waiting 20 years for a goddamn solo Superman film. Let's get a move on. Love you all. Stay safe. Truth out.
Everyone, please do not announce to the server when you are going to go masturbate.